so I was starting to tell the story. We were scheduled to be in Boston area for a series of programs in the Northeast. And if you remember back to just slightly over 2 years ago, there was a horrific bombing in Boston that happened at the Boston Marathon that had happened like literally 2 weeks before we were scheduled to arrive there. And our topic was inner peace in a difficult world, or I don't know, something to that effect, something to do with inner peace. And I thought, you know, and the programs were advertised and the halls were rented and et cetera, et cetera. And I tried every way that I could think of to make a plane go to Italy and get back to Boston in time for the first of those lectures. And short of hiring an airplane for about $80,000, there was just, it was not going to happen. And so I just said, all right, Swamiji, we're not going to be at this program, we're going to be with you in Boston. And later on, we continued our trip to Italy because one of the very last interactions that we had with him when he was still in the body, we asked him directly and specifically, do you still want us to come? We knew he wasn't well, he wasn't feeling well. He said, yes, please come. So we came. He wasn't in the body, but we came. And I gave a talk in Assisi, and just before the talk, the thought struck me very clearly and dynamically that there was a reason, at least as far as we were concerned, there was a reason why we were not with him when he left his body. There was a reason why we couldn't even be with his body in Assisi at all. You know, his body came back to America while we were en route to Italy. He wasn't even there, and so we just completely missed. And the reason was because we had had our time with his body. We lived with him in the same house for 6, 7 years, and immediately next to him for two or three more. We spent years with him. We didn't need that kind of time with his body. And for us, and the message that I was able to convey then, and I will convey again tonight, is his body was not the body that we installed in the Moksha Mandir yesterday morning at 7:15. His body is the body of his consciousness, the body of what he shared and what he gave to the world. And it's amazing. And the little body, the poor little body that he walked around in, my God, he was so happy to leave that. I mean, and he was so ready to leave. He was ready years ago. In fact, I can remember an experience in, I want to say it was 1999, summer of 1999, where, you know, sometimes strange scheduling issues come up. And we were traveling in Switzerland with him. We had organized to drive from the place we were staying to the place where we would catch the train in Lugano. There was only one train to catch. You had to catch that one. It stops on the platform for between 90 seconds and 2 minutes. You know, you're either there waiting for it or you're not. And Swamiji had a way of wanting to spend as little time in a car as he could. He didn't like being in a car. It's kind of squashed his aura. He liked trains better, didn't like airplanes very well, but he put up with them because at least they covered great distances in a big hurry. But he asked someone how long it takes to drive from where we were staying to this train station, and the guy said some figure like 3 hours. Now, I would normally allow a whole extra hour. I mean, just, that's my nature. He thought, well, we could do it in 2.5 or something like that. Well, it turned out there was road construction. Even in Switzerland, they do sometimes have road construction. And it delayed and delayed and delayed. And I remember once we got past that, going, I mean, really fast, because we were late. And you know, wondering if this was going to cost us our lives as we drove. I mean, I was driving safely, but it was fast. And we got to the place to drop off the rental car, and then we were driving a taxi back to catch the train, and watching, and we got stuck in a stoplight right as the train was pulling into the station. And I thought, oh God, there's no way. And the light finally changed, and we zipped into the parking lot, and then we had all this stuff to schlep. And, you know, he was in pretty good shape, but we had to run. We had to run down under the train tracks and up the stairs on the other side. And then there was this moment, there was this horrific moment where I thought, oh my God, I lost him for a second, and I didn't know where he was. I didn't know if he was on the train or off the train. I didn't know if he was behind me or ahead of me, because we got separated going through the stairs and up on the other side. You know, you think about that, analyze that for a moment. If he's on the train, you better be on the train. If he's not on the train, you better not be on the train. I mean, it's like you have to be wherever he is. And anyway, we all ended up on the train. We made the train. I don't know how. I think he stopped time. But I remember we sat down in our seats, and he was so out of breath that he was almost not breathing. And thank God he had a pacemaker, because I think it saved his life right in that moment. But he didn't say very much. But I think of all the times when he could have left the body, and in many ways would happily have left the body for all the struggles that he went through. But he didn't. Master kept him in the body. Master kept the drama going so that he could share certain things. And so there's this human part. There's this human story to tell, and in a few moments I wanted to show a very sweet presentation. I had not seen it before this. Just slides and elements of his life, many of which I had never seen until literally today. So we'll look at that. I say that because I wanted to balance the more abstract, his body is the body of his work. Well, okay, but he also had a human body, and he had a human life, and a human personality, and it's okay to relate to those, and it's okay to mourn the loss of those, because they were very precious to us. Most of us in the room knew him or had time with him in one way or another. Some of us more, some of us less, but the time that we spent with him was precious, whether it was measured in minutes or months. And one of the reasons why, I just read this today. Someone was writing about, she had been working with him in the 1970s, typing things and typing and retyping manuscripts that he would work on and correct. And he knew that she would come every day. You know, that was the schedule. In the afternoon, she would come with the mail and do whatever work needed to be done. But every day, he greeted her with, "Oh, you're here. Oh, wonderful, okay." Well, he could have taken that for granted, but he didn't. He did not take for granted the fact that she came. And it was like that for everyone. Each moment was its own moment. There were no assumptions that, oh, well, just because it was this way yesterday means it will be this way tomorrow. Every time it was fresh. And I remember in India coming back from morning sadhana, and Swamiji would be reading the newspaper, or he would be having his tea and he'd be reading a book or something. And you know, before we moved to India, we didn't live with him. We sometimes traveled with him. We spent time with him, but we didn't live with him. And initially, I didn't know sort of where are the boundaries here? How close are we allowed to get? Or you know, I didn't want to invade his space, his privacy, and there were times when he could put a force field around his space. You know, when there was no, you did not move past the force field because there was a reason why he needed to concentrate on whatever it was. But often I would go in and I would greet him, and he would be very warm, and I mean, not just often, like always. And I was so grateful for the fact that he would allow me to ask a question or make an observation or just tell him what was happening in this quickly, rapidly evolving work of Ananda in India. And again, he never took those moments in any way as stamped out from the day before. Each one was fresh. His work was a continuing gift to Master in the people that he saw, the people that he served. And he would visualize them as a person. He would write to a person. He would visualize that person that he was writing to. And so his writing is very human and very conversational, very approachable. And he worked on it so hard. I was watching one of our little Ask Me About Truth programs today, and in it he was talking about how he never let anyone touch his writing. He had watched how Master's work had been edited, and he wasn't happy with the way it was edited. And he said he wouldn't let anyone take an editorial pen to his writing. He took the pen himself. Very occasionally when he would ask us for suggestions, and we would make one that seemed obvious or important to us, occasionally he would accept it. Occasionally he took that. But most often, he knew what he needed to say. He knew how it should be presented. It got to the point where he was extremely subtle in the editing that he was doing. He would rearrange sentences not to change the meaning. He would change the wording, not to change the meaning, but to change the rhythm, the music of the words that he was saying, so that they would communicate more effectively to people. He realized that when you read something, sometimes he would read a chapter that he had just written to whoever happened to be around, and in reading it, he would stop and he would say, Lakshman, right, that word needs to be this, make a note of that. And, or Nirmala, write this down, that sentence, we need to, whatever. He write it in the fly. Sometimes even when the camera was rolling and he was being filmed or whatever, he would just stop and change it because it had to be the most accessible that it could possibly be. You know how we learned this from being around him when television filming was being done. The lights that they crank up for filming, I mean, it's unbelievable. We also noticed this when they were filming the movies at Ananda, because one of the movie sets happened to be our living room. And we had guests with us at the time, which made it a little challenging to have a movie set and a guest in the house at the same time. But there were 40,000 watts of light in that living room. That is bright. 40,000 watts, that's like 1,000 times whatever's in this room right now. Anyway, it was really bright. But you need that light so that the filming is clear. And it's the same with his writing. He wanted to shine as much light on it as possible so that the words would come alive for people. They would speak to people's hearts. And they did, and they do. And so much of what he gave was beyond just words on a page or notes on a page. It was the underlying movement of consciousness, the movement of inspiration. And the gift of that is impossible to really convey in words because it continues to evolve. And we are all of us blessed to have been part of that and to be part of that. And so I wanted this evening to honor both the impersonal which sounds cold, but as he explained to us time and time again, impersonal actually means warmer because less attached and less sort of demanding. Impersonal meaning always giving without thought of return, without thought of needing something back. But I want to focus both on the personal and the impersonal. And so the little programs that we'll watch, this little show has photos of Swamiji from many different, it begins with his birth and then even before his birth. So there's some very sweet pictures as an honor of the life that he lived. And then I have a handful, 12 or 15 beautiful, beautiful photographs from yesterday, from the procession, the ceremony of installing and bringing his body to the Moksha Mandir in a casket. And the place is unbelievably beautiful. And there are one or two things that are specifically not complete, so that next month when it's dedicated, we will see a couple of things that are not there yet. But the structure is finished. It's unbelievable. It's so beautiful. It's like people have been saying, and I think you can see this from those slides. It's like it dropped from the sky. All the while that this construction has been going on, the tulips are in bloom. Nirmala and I and Supriya and Chaitanya were up last weekend. A week ago Saturday, we were up singing for the tulip weekend. Hundreds and hundreds of people coming. And people who have come in other years would say, no, I don't remember that building. That seems new. And yet, they were a little confused because it looked so much a part of the scene that it looks like it's always been there. And anyway, it's really, really exquisite. So and then we'll have a little flower ceremony to follow that. But take both presentations, let's try to do what to me seems like the impossible, but of course in God nothing is impossible. Let's enjoy the little videos as a meditation. Meditating with your eyes open has always seemed like a bit of a mug's game to me, but it doesn't have to be. If we take what we see as coming to us from God, and it's a devotional offering and a devotional blessing. So we can turn the lights down now.